The Sufracebook 3 is no stranger to a little bit of controversy and a lot of ridicule. For every one person that you find online that's praising this device, you'll probably find 3 or 4 more other people who don't really have anything good to say about it. Now, a large portion of that you can chalk up to the fact that people will more readily go online to complain about a device than they will to praise a device. And if a device has a common issue, you're going to hear about that from everybody. Everybody will chime in and complain how common the issue is on the device. You will not see that same number of people commenting and saying, honestly, I don't have that issue. A very good example of something like that is what happened with the Galaxy Note 7. A lot of you people may remember that when the Galaxy Note 7 was released, it had several instances of it catching on fire spontaneously. As a result, the phone was banned off of airplanes. They ended up doing a recall. They completed the recall, sent it back out, caught fire again. They recalled it again and basically canceled the entire phone. Now, the actual confirmed number of devices that caught fire, I believe, was around 5. 5 confirmed. That doesn't mean that it only happened 5 times. That means there were only 5 confirmed cases of the device catching fire. But because it became such a big issue so quickly, it caught on so quickly, everybody immediately associates that device with that issue. Sufracebook 3 has a few of those issues. One of those issues can be seen here when you open it. Not so much when you open it, but specifically when you close it. Notice, when you close it, that is metal on metal touching there. And if that closing hinge mechanism gets shifted a bit, then you have metal hitting glass. And as Jerry Riggs Everything would say,
glass is glass and glass can break.
And that is exactly what happens with this device when a situation like that happens. Additionally, when you go to open the device, your finger naturally wants to rest around the area where the front-facing camera is. As a result, this area tends to get more pressure, tends to wear down, and tends to be a common focal point of the screen cracking. Another common issue is that, look at this. Look at this. That hinge is not very tight. You go to touch it on the screen, it just pushes back a little. It gets very irritating. If it's sitting on your lap, it naturally wants to fall backwards because it is top heavy right over the hinge. Whereas most laptops, all of their components are in the base. So the screen portion is very light. The laptop doesn't tend to be top heavy, tends to be bottom heavy. On this device, all of your components, your processor, your motherboard, your RAM, your Wi-Fi card, your Bluetooth, all of that right here in the top. The only thing the bottom houses are your USB ports, a full-size SD card slot, and on this side, you get your Surface port as well as a USB-C port right there. That's it. That's all you get. That's it. That's all that's in the base. Oh, I'm sorry. The base also houses the dedicated video card. If you have the 13.5-inch model, it is an NVIDIA GTX 1650 Ti with 4 gigabytes of dedicated video memory. If you have the 15-inch model like I have, then it is the NVIDIA GTX 1660 Ti with 6 gigabytes of dedicated video memory. In addition to that, you're getting a 10th generation i5 or i7 processor, 8, 16, or 32 gigabytes of RAM, and 256, 512, 1 terabyte, or I believe they also had a 2 terabyte version, a 2 terabyte model, and that one came with the RTX 3000. I don't have that one. I tried to get that one. I couldn't, but it came with an RTX 3000 with, I believe, 8 gigabytes of dedicated video memory. I'll correct myself over here as usual if I need to. In this specific model that I have, it is the i7, 32 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of NVMe storage. Like I said, you get Bluetooth, you get Wi-Fi, you get a 3.5 millimeter combo jack that is built into the tablet portion, which is more than what you can say for a lot of other devices that are premium that come out nowadays. You get a full-size keyboard. You get a laptop that is genuinely also a tablet. We're not talking about one of those flip turn behind 2-in-1s. No, it becomes a full-fledged, very light, I believe 1.3 pound tablet. Like, super light. Some people complain about the size of the bezels. I, for one, tend to appreciate the fact that the bezels are that size because it gives me something to grip onto when I'm holding the tablet. With something this big, you definitely want something to grip onto. Not to mention, you also can use the Surface Pen. You do not have to use the Surface Pen specifically. It can be any Microsoft Pen capable active pen, which includes like the Bamboo Ink, the HP Active Stylus, the Lenovo Active Stylus, pretty much almost any active stylus that you can buy in 2024. Anyone that you can buy in 2024 that is for a laptop, not a Chromebook, laptop, will work on this device. So you don't necessarily have to spring for the Surface Pen itself. You can spring for a much cheaper alternative. That being said, anything that I can run on my laptop, I can run on this device. Now, currently my main laptop is a Lenovo T16 Gen 2, I believe it is. 12th generation i7, 32 gigabyte of RAM, dedicated, NVIDIA T550U, I think is what it is. And I think it's 4 gigabytes of dedicated video memory on that. This thing still smokes it. Still smokes it. And at a price point of around $600 for the 15-inch model. If you go online and you look up a 15-inch laptop with at least the 1660 Ti with 6 gigabytes of dedicated video memory, in addition to a laptop that's only 4.5 pounds, or also splits to become a tablet, you'll be hard pressed to find that for $600. Very hard pressed to find that for $600. Now, that's not to say, I'm not sitting here saying that I don't have any issues with the Surface Book 3. One of my biggest issues is how warm the device gets when you are using it, especially if you're using it in tablet mode and you start to do something that's taxing to the processor. It can get hot, uncomfortably hot. You can kind of find a way around that with if you have a fan blowing directly on the back of it. The only redeeming factor is that because this chassis is metal, it's a great conductor for heat, and it also cools very well too. So once you start blowing a fan on it, that heat starts dissipating. It doesn't get nearly as hot, but who wants to sit here using a tablet in front of a fan 24/7? You know, that's not realistic. Another issue that I have with this is that there is zero I/O built in to the tablet. Yes, Bryson. There is zero I/O built into the tablet portion itself, save for the 3.5mm combo jack. That means that I don't get a USB port for me to plug something into. Not USB-C, not USB-A, not micro USB, nothing. All I get is that 3.5mm combo jack. I do get this Surface port adapter here, which you can buy devices that will connect into the Surface port and give you a USB port or connect to a Surface dock or something like that. But again, that's an extra piece that I have to buy that on most other tablets, even if you just have an iPad Pro, you can connect a device directly into the USB-C port and it'll read it. You can't do that on this here. That is one of the complaints that I have. Another complaint that I have, it's Windows. Windows is not made for tablets. I mean, as much as I would love for Windows to be made for tablets, it's not. And part of that is evident in the terrible battery life that a Windows tablet gets when compared to its Android or iPad OS counterparts. Gets terrible battery life. Now, maybe that will get better in the future as Windows evolves and becomes more compatible with mobile processors, but as it stands right now, battery life is terrible, especially when you have an i7 with 32 gigabytes of RAM. It's going to suck a little bit of juice, and it's going to do it pretty quickly. Which brings me to another common issue with these devices. One that I fortunately do not have on this device. The batteries start to swell. You'll see a lot of spicy pillows scrolling through Reddit or the Microsoft forums. And once that happens, it's a $600 repair. I mean, going directly through Microsoft. As a matter of fact, it is such a hassle to replace the battery that if you need it repaired via Microsoft, they don't fix it. You mail them the one that needs to be repaired, they mail you back another one. Such a hassle. Rather than fix yours and mail it back to you, they're like, well, just mail it back. We'll fix the one he sent us later. That's how much of a hassle it is to fix the battery in these devices. But even with all those issues, I find it hard not to recommend the Microsoft Surface Book 3. I had the 15-inch Surface Book 2, and I loved it. I did not think that I would like the Surface Book 3 that much better, because I was like, I mean, the Surface Book 2 was already, it was already great. It was already 15-inch. The display resolution didn't change. Yes, I do get a better graphics card in this one, and a better processor, and more memory, but I didn't think it was going to be that much better. Part of it might be Windows 11, but this is much better. It's much quicker to respond than my Surface Book 2. It's much quicker than my Surface Book 2 because of the fact that it has 32 gigabytes of memory built into it. That means apps are more responsive and they don't generally want to lag as much as they lag on the Surface Book 2. With the Surface Book 2, you were stuck at a maximum of 16 gigabytes of RAM. And I had the i7, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabyte model. Obviously, there's going to be a difference between an 8th gen i7 and a 10th gen i7. But again, I didn't think the difference would be as noticeable as it has been with the Surface Book 3. So I say all that to say, I would highly recommend the Surface Book 3 to anybody who's looking for a laptop. If you're a student and you're looking for a fairly inexpensive laptop to maybe do a little bit of graphic design, maybe you're going to do a little bit of photo editing, maybe you want something that you can take some notes on while you're editing, what have you. Surface Book 3. If you're somebody who's just looking for a used laptop because you want to mess around with something, if your budget is in the $500 to $600 range, Surface Book 3. Unless you're looking for something doable, then that's not this. You don't want to, no, we're not doing that. But give it a shot. Buy yourself one. Buy your mom one. Buy your sibling one. Whatever. I highly suggest buying it and trying it for yourself. I think people who have never tried the Surface Book don't necessarily know what they are missing. And I think people who even had previous versions of the Surface Book don't notice the minor changes that have made a big difference in the Surface Book 3. Ultimately, the design is the same, the form factor is the same, but it's mostly about the internals, the increased battery life. I've owned the 1, the 2, and the 3. Each of them got progressively better, and it was all because of the software that was running inside of it. Like I said, now that this is running Windows 11, maybe that's what's making the big difference, but I would recommend, like I said, a Surface Book 3 to just about anyone, especially at the $500-600 price point. You would be hard-pressed to find something better. If you've ever owned one, if you've been looking to buy one or interested in potentially buying one, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.